Come on! Yeah! Here we go! Yeah! 1, 2, 3, 4! Come on! Let's go!
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike from Spark, and thanks for joining us today for our very first live job description. I've got to tell you, I've read tens of thousands of job descriptions, and no offense to its authors, but they all sound the same. Splattered with buzzwords like innovative, disruptive, fast-paced, groundbreaking, blah, blah, blah. We're so excited to introduce you to a different approach, our live job description. This is the future of attracting top talent. Because while currently job descriptions provide information on company background, roles and responsibilities, they're missing the most important component of a job, your bosses. I believe in the saying that people don't leave companies, they run from bad bosses. And we at Spark believe the inverse of that is true, and that people want to work for great bosses. And we're lucky enough to have been joined with two of those today in Steve and Sumit from AutoTrader.ca as we share information on this exciting and unique role, Director of Test Engineering. For those attending live, please feel free to add any questions. And if we don't get to them in this live broadcast, we will post the responses in the comments afterwards. Now, a little on Steve and Sumit before I bring them in. I met Steve years ago when he was just getting started leading the digital transformation at AutoTrader. He brings a wealth of experience in the digital space from his home back in Australia. I'm not going to pump his tires too much, but I will cite a few of his accomplishments. And this wasn't on Wikipedia, I promise. He headed platform and new product innovation for Census, Australia's largest publisher, then moved on to the GM, Digital Channels and Innovation for Australia Post, and then was the chief digital officer at CrownBet that was acquired and then acquired again by Sportsbet before he moved himself and his family to Canada's beautiful west coast of Vancouver to join AutoTrader as the chief digital officer. Aside from all these accomplishments, the thing I admire the most about Steve is the value he places on building and maintaining relationships. He's always open to new ideas, willing to learn himself, and definitely brings the energy and enthusiasm. On to Sumit. I was introduced to Sumit through Steve while he was the director of software engineering, which was a very short stint before they elevated him to the VP overseeing all of software engineering. Okay, I guess I can pump Sumit's tires a little bit here too. He brings such a unique set of skills to his current role, from being an architect at AutoTrader on the mobile side before leaving to take on a few strategic projects for Kit and Ace, to starting up his own company, to come back to AutoTrader.ca with the mandate of transforming the organization to a more digital engineering shop. No easy task, but given the growth we've seen in the last few years at AutoTrader, this is only a testament to Sumit and his team's growing reputation in the engineering community. I'm super lucky when I get the opportunity to work with Sumit, as he is an excellent collaborator, very composed under pressure, and always has time for people he works with. All right, enough about me. You're not here to hear me talk. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Steve and Sumit. What's up, guys?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Thanks for the intro, mate. That was very generous.
Well, I had to write something. Now, listen, I did a fantastic job of introducing you guys, I got to say, but I want to give you each the opportunity to give a bit of an overview, maybe 30 seconds to a minute of yourself, about your background experience, and for some fun, let's maybe throw in your first concert you went to. So I am going to start with you, Steve.
Wow, talk about put me on the spot. Definitely did not print this up. Wow, so I'm obviously an Aussie. You know, Mike said that in the introduction. I've been here in Vancouver for 3.5 years now with my family. I have an engineering background. I started life as an engineer. I was writing code, building games at age 13 on my Commodore 64. So I'm definitely a geek, and I still am. But these days I've had probably I've broadened that experience a lot over the years. I ran a marketing agency for 5 years, a digital agency, and also had a product role here and there as well, and innovation, I think, as Mike also mentioned. So, and I've applied that sort of background in the telco space, digital marketing, advertising, and sports betting more recently. So, living here in Vancouver, probably most likely making a move to Toronto over the next sort of 6 months.
And your first concert?
I actually saw Michael Jackson. I think it was his last time he was in Australia. It has to have been the 80s. And that was amazing. It was with the stage kind of rotated, but my fondest memory as someone who loves food was the donut van had the best hot jam donuts, and that's the thing I remember the most.
That's awesome. That's great. Sumit, how about take it away?
Yeah, cool. So nice to meet everybody. So I've been working in technology for, I want to say, 20, 25 years. Similar to Steve, I started out hands-on keyboard developer, worked for a bunch of different organizations in a lot of different spaces, both not-for-profit and for-profit. I want to say that my first sort of real kick at a proper engineering leadership role was, in fact, at Trader. And in the few years that I was here, before I actually left and came back to Trader, I learned a ton about how to really balance the needs of a large engineering organization with the needs of engineering teams, right? And I've always had an appreciation for what engineers and testers like and don't like, coming from that background myself. And I think, Mike, you're right that I also took a little kick at the can, starting my own company. It was a great experience, totally different space. Working at Kit and Ace was also a wild experience, working for an apparel startup, very much in the early stages, but well bootstrapped. So that was great. And then after I did those two things, I actually came back to Trader because there was a fantastic opportunity to really broaden the impact that I have on the stuff that we do here. So that's me. First concert would have been Def Leppard in the late 80s. And it was awesome. I guess just like the MJ concert, they had that full like 360-degree stage that turned around. It was a blast. And I'm actually, I love going to music shows. There haven't been a whole lot in the last few years, so I got a long list of bands I want to check out as soon as we can again.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm gonna bring Steve in. We're gonna jump right into this super exciting director of test engineering role. So the first question that I have for you is, what is this role, and how is it unique?
Someone's probably better to talk to, be more targeted around technicalities. But I think I would say from where I sit, our quality is fairly high. I mean, that's what comes to mind when I think about this role, right? And our quality is pretty high considering we haven't really had anyone lead testing as a function, at least not since I've been here. We obviously have different types of testers and an approach which we lead through engineering at the moment. So I think we're in pretty good shape, but Sumit and I have been talking about this role for some time, probably for 2 years, and we had some other things to sort of get to, but really for me, I'm looking. Well, I think we're all looking for a really senior leader to play that lead role in establishing testing as a strategy, and And our business is complex. We might get to that later. There's a lot of different factors to our business. You can have multiple careers here. You probably know us for the marketplace, but we do a lot of stuff. We have a lot of different tech. So looking for someone to really modernize, I guess, the way we think about testing, as I say, at a very senior level and own that strategy. Key outcomes I think of, again, this might not be as focused to say what Sumit would be looking for, but for me, it's like an appropriate, test mix, test pyramid that sort of lines up to where we're at as an engineering organization. We consider ourselves a tech company. The CEO says that we're a tech organization. But something that's appropriate for where we're at, for our competition, for our industry, I think would be really critical. We are facing challenges, but we're the market leader by a long shot, but we are facing competitive challenges. And so for me, some of the metrics, I guess, or outcomes I think about are really obvious ones. Again, quality, however we look at that, there's many different ways to deliver quality. But then also speed to market will be, I think, an important one to dial into. Like how could we get a competitive advantage through, like I said, a really well-established test strategy and the execution of that strategy, which should lead to getting value out the door to customers quicker.
Amazing. That's awesome. So, Sumit, your turn to kind of define what this role is and how it's unique in your opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let me try to sum it up in just a couple of statements. So the test director is a role that's going to have complete ownership and autonomy over building and executing a test strategy in an environment that's modern from a technology perspective, certainly, and also in a way that's going to improve the experience of millions of car shoppers in Canada every single day, and also, really importantly, benefit the daily lives of our engineering teams. Like Steve mentioned, most people know us for AutoTrader, but I like to think of that as really the tip of the iceberg. Like there's so much technology and so much that we do here, and the test director is going to be a really pivotal role in ensuring that we have the right strategy around supporting all those things.
Awesome. I think that was great. I'm gonna bring it back to Steve here. Talking about this director role, can you comment on where it fits in the digital organization?
Yes, so it fits in my part of that. I should have said this already. In my role as CDO, I own engineering, obviously, and Sumit is my most senior engineering leader and runs engineering for AutoTrader. We then also have tech as distinct from that. So like tech operations and procurement and things, the sort of IT stuff, if you like, that's the CIO kind of role playing out. But then architecture, but also user experience and consumer products. So I also own consumer product. I have product people working for my organization, and we are advocates for the consumer in that regard, because we also have a commercial side to the organization, which we have sales, we have marketing, and the commercial product folk. So we come together, ideally we're balancing, what we do for our customers with our consumers. That's a really important role for a marketplace to balance those concerns, because they can be at odds with each other sometimes. So this role, we're about to embark on, well, we are already embarking on what we call the next era of our marketplace. And this is the next era of automotive marketplaces worldwide, is that we start to move closer and closer up the value chain and selling vehicles online. Now, we're already doing that. We've acquired many companies to help us achieve that, to buy us the technology. And that comes with its own challenges, which is another reason why we think the time is right for a senior leader in this space. So largely, this sits within the engineering structure of digital at Trader. Sumit?
Yeah, definitely. So that's absolutely right. It does fit within engineering as part of digital, but it's also safe to say that this is a key role for our entire business. And I think every organization within Trader, from marketing to the commercial side of our business to sales, is pretty excited for us to find a test director. And maybe let me build a little bit upon the point that we keep on talking about, which is people generally, I think, from the outside are sometimes surprised to hear about all the things that we do. So let me zero in on the technology side of that. So we are, we're a multi-cloud, all cloud environment. We employ modern service architecture. We've built and still maintain and build the top of high velocity data integrations, which leverage event streaming technologies. And although we have kind of a core expertise around certain platforms, tech stacks, design patterns, we consider ourselves polyglots at heart. And for us, that means that we are always looking to the best emerging technology and tech stacks to solve a problem. And of course, you can't make a decision like that without senior involvement when it comes to how to ensure quality is maintained as we embark upon new projects that leverage new technologies. So we're looking for someone really to build that comprehensive testing strategy that's inclusive of that, but also incorporate their expertise in domains like automation testing, of which we do a lot of, but we want to do more. Proper engineering fundamentals and software delivery. So yes, it's within digital, but it's got a broad impact to all sides of our business.
And Sumit, while I've got you kind of here, just to build on that, what impact do you think this individual will have on the engineering organization? And maybe if you think about fast forwarding 12 months out from the successful candidate, what types of things would they have delivered or been successful at?
Yeah, right. So we want to invest further in automation to be able to build and release faster. Like Steve mentioned, our engineers, and testers follow a pretty good yet rough paradigm around employing the right test pyramid from unit tests all the way up to exploratory manual tests. But I think they could benefit from more structure around that. The products that we build, we're going to have even more confidence in, 6 to 12 months after this person comes on board. We're going to have even more confidence in what we ship, and we're going to be able to attack and pursue new opportunities for our business at a speed that we're just not able to today.
I can also add, Mike, that I think that I know there are growth opportunities for this role too, to elevate. Again, obviously it depends on the candidate and what the candidate thinks when they come in, and are we in good shape, or is it going to take us a long time to get out of where we're at? They'll be the judge of that. But there's certainly opportunities to broaden this role over other parts of our business and could elevate it up even out of engineering at a higher level, depending on those other factors. So, like I said, there's a lot of complexity in our business, and I think for the right person, there are those growth opportunities there for both the role and for the individual as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, when we were commenting before, you had said something, Steve, about how automation typically means doing more with less. And you had a different view on automation being able to actually do more and bring more products and hire more people to do more things. I think that was really a different perspective that I think would be worth to share.
Yeah, I think if I get what you mean there, it's just something I talk about a lot, especially with CEOs, whether it's my boss here or other companies, because that word efficiency is a bit of a dirty one. I think it depends who you are, but if an accountant sees efficiency, they see saving of dollars. For me, I think about it more as effectiveness. So how can you better use those dollars? So when I talk about being more effective, or if I do use the word efficient, it's about how do you channel that savings into something that's going to add value for the company, not saving heads or saving dollars, but redirecting that effort towards something of higher value. We're seeing the same thing with delivery. We've really modernized delivery over the last 3 years. And even then, we're still seeing, kind of a 25% bounce rate with tickets that get basically groomed but never executed on. And that's like a $1.5 million cost to us. Now, I'm not looking to save $1.5 million by reducing that. Obviously, I just want people to spend less time wasting time looking at things they shouldn't be and focusing on the things that actually do add value. Failure is completely appropriate, but are we failing on the right things? Writing tickets and touching things, context shifting around things that aren't of value, that's something we want to remove. But again, it's about being more effective. Does that answer your question?
It does. I think that's bang on. And to transition, I have two more questions, and then we're going to get to some questions from people. And I'll start with you, Sumit. Why did you join AutoTrader? You were once a candidate, like many people are that are tuning in, thinking about AutoTrader. You've done it twice. So can you comment on why AutoTrader?
Yeah, I'm on my V2 here, right? That's right. Well, first off, I'm not a car person. So anyone watching thinking, oh geez, I'm not really a car person. Is this the right role, right gig for me? Don't worry, you don't have to be. It certainly helps, but you don't have to be a car enthusiast. You should be a technology enthusiast though, for sure. So why I joined, I think AutoTrader, we have a really recognizable and trusted brand name in Canada. Like Steve mentioned, we're a technology company, and in fact, we're a top 10 technology company in Canada. We have great marketing, and we have really good CX for the consumer products that we put out to market. So those are things that I recognized when I was first considering joining the company. And then I guess the second part of that is like, why do I stick around? And it sounds a little bit cliche, but I'll just say it. People is a massive part of that, right? Like, we have really smart and passionate people here. And it pays to work with people that make you feel that you need to push yourself to be better, which is fantastic. We don't care much for hierarchy here, right? Work is challenging and fun, and we stay up to date with technology. And so for anyone who thinks of themselves as a technologist, that's a critical reason to stay at a place, right? To feel like it's feeding your appetite for exploring new technologies in the right way, in the right time.
Awesome. And Steve, they got you from Australia to over here. What was it about AutoTrader that got you excited?
Unsurprisingly, different reasons for joining versus staying. I think staying, if I can come to that, it's pretty much the reasons that Sumit's pointed out. Our culture is really great. I know people always say that, and they probably always say what I just said then as well. We've worked on that pretty hard. So it wasn't great when I arrived. It was okay, but we've actively worked on it, and it's had a dramatic impact on how I feel about working here. And I think most people would say that. We see it in all the anonymous surveys, engagement surveys that we do. Our engagement score has never been higher. I think we're sort of, I'm a bit nervous about calling a number out, but I'm pretty sure mid 80s, high, low 90s in some areas, depending on where you look. And so that's what keeps me here, and that we're a technology company. That makes a big difference for me. And it's not just saying it, it's the way we sort of think. And, we don't do business cases, for example. We talk about what we want to invest in, and we make decisions about that based on a number of factors, not just financial. We're a technology company, but I'd say we're consumer-led as well. And we don't make money from consumers. We make money from customers. So that's a big shift, and culturally that makes a big difference. Why I came here, I knew the CEO. I'd worked with him before many, many years ago at Telstra, which is a big telco in Australia. It's kind of like a TELUS, probably a tad bigger. We've got more market share. And we were in different roles. We didn't work together. But we kind of came together on a couple of different projects, did some work in Europe as part of that. I then worked in M&A, acquired some companies in China, and Seb was kind of like a recipient of some of those acquisitions. So we came into contact. So I knew what it was like to work with him. I trusted him as a business leader. But also I was really taken back by the trader story. So I think we were founded in the 70s. And I didn't know that when I first started talking to Seb. And what I'd found out is that we'd sort of transitioned from print, I think sort of 12 years ago or something, to digital. And our margins are, I think like 60%. It's a proper pure digital business, a pure play. And when I arrived for an interview in Vancouver, I was down south in Silicon Valley visiting Facebook and doing the kind of safari, as they call it in Australia, down there, the digital safari. And I looked around and I'm like, wow, this was once a print organization. Like, you just wouldn't know it. It just feels purely digital, even back then. And now it's absolutely a tech company, and that's what keeps me here. So faith in the brand. I'd heard a lot about it, massive market share. I do love cars. Is it rude of me to say that Sumit has a Tesla, even though he said he doesn't like cars? He has a Tesla. I love cars.
Called out.
The car is shitty.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. You don't need to like cars to be here, but I do like them. So that helps me. I much prefer building features for people trying to find a vehicle. It's fun. People enjoy that purchase. It's a good process. It's the second probably highest amount of money you're going to ever spend on something next to your house. And I think that's fun. It beats what I have done before, where I worked in sports betting and Aussie Post. That was interesting. Don't get me wrong, but this is something that I can get behind as well, as wearing a consumer hat. Yeah.
Awesome. And the last question that I have is, Sumit, what is it like working with Steve?
Good question. I don't really have the benefit of Steve going first, do I? So I can tailor my answer depending on how generous he is. But Steve gives his people a lot of runway to make decisions, right? It's kind of like that old adage, right? Hire smart people and let them tell you what to do. He's present for his team always, which is quite surprising given what he owns and what he has responsibility over. And I think he said it too. He's got a technology background, and I think those of you who have worked with or worked under people that don't necessarily have a technology background, and you yourself are in the technology domain, you may find yourself sometimes having to explain fundamentals instead of just having them be taken for granted or accepted as is. And I think Steve's background definitely makes making progress on things just a lot smoother than what it could be. Yeah.
Awesome, Steve.
And actually, Steve's a bit of a cocktail mixologist too. I don't know if he would say that about himself, but I'm a budding one, and so he sends me some good recipes. I think I had a Toblerone cocktail right before this too, actually.
All right, Steve, what's it like working with Sumit?
That was pretty generous. I noticed he took a while to start that. He was stuttering a little bit. Look, I guess it's the opposite side of that coin. I do give people a lot of runway. I don't. This is not about me, but I don't. I think my greatest gift as a leader is I don't need to be right. I don't want to be necessarily right, and I don't think I am most of the time. I like to create some direction to start a conversation, and if I leave the room and it's still my idea that's the best, it bothers me, because I think I have people that know better, and what that would tell me is that maybe people didn't feel safe to speak up or offer their opinion. So that doesn't happen. Generally, that it's always a better idea than mine. So that's good. That tells me that things are working well with the team. And with Sumit, I mean, like all the people that I have on my leadership team, they need to be able to work independently, because I can't stick handle everything, and I don't want to. I've got too many things I'm looking at. I think direction setting is important, or theme setting. I bring a unique perspective from the board or from the CEO or the market that can sometimes help with that direction, but largely I want these guys to come up with it on their own. And Sumit exemplifies that. Like I don't really have to give any direction to Sumit. I mean, and Sumit has a large capacity though as well. His job's huge, which is one of the reasons why we need this role. why it's initially going to stay in engineering, because I think there's a lot to do in terms of maturing that and helping Summit and providing Summit with some more bandwidth as well. Summit's no fuss. I love that too. I was once told by my boss when I was like 30, hey, I never have to worry about you. You just sort of get stuff done and you're pretty quiet about it, but it all kind of works. And he said, that's awesome. And I'm like, wow, that's a really good thing. And it sounded really good. So I've tried to do that. I've tried to find people that do that for me as well. And I give them the role. So, and, you know, Summit's extremely dependable, like everyone. We don't always get to everything, but we know what's important. And that we do meet every day. My whole team, we meet every day in the morning as a quick check-in, which is optional. And I think that really helps a lot. But I think it'd be great to work for Summit personally. I know people hold him in very high regard. We've had another person who's a budding VP, senior director, working for Summit, who's also left and come back. And that was working for Summit. So that's probably testament to Summit as well.
Awesome. Now, we've got a couple questions that we'll just go through before we wrap up here. Sumit, I think the first one is probably best for you.
Yeah.
It's a bit more kind of granular. Is you know, they mentioned that you're multi-cloud tech. Does the Amazon cloud, is it one of the main tech you have there? And does the current engineering roadmap include building CI/CD pipeline?
Good question. So it's actually two parts to Trader as a business. There's core AutoTrader, and by that I mean not only the tip of the iceberg, but also all the technology and all the products, both consumer and commercial, that sit underneath that. And we also have spun up a separate business unit called AutoSync. So I'll just talk about, you know, Trader, the big iceberg. So we've centered our cloud operations around Azure, and that's because we have, you know, historically a lot of experience in .NET and the Microsoft stack at large. So that's one of our clouds. But we also leverage GCP, the Google Cloud Platform, for a lot of our data work. As you can imagine, being a consumer business that started in the 70s and being a digital business for at least 15 years of that, we've amassed quite a sizable amount of data and sit upon that, you know, while you know, as we explore new ways to leverage that data and that insight. So our two core cloud platforms are Azure and GCP. We have some investment in AWS on Trader as well. But if you flip over to the AutoSync side of our business, we have a really deep investment in AWS across 5 different companies in our portfolio. So we are multi-cloud, not only when you look at us as a core business, but in fact, when you expand that view to consider all aspects of Trader Corporation and all our acquisitions. And how does that fit into CI/CD? So we have multiple CI/CD platforms and approaches depending on which product that we're looking at. We've made heavy investment in the last few years on using Azure DevOps as our CI/CD. And then over on the AutoSync side of our business, we also have separate CI/CD capabilities there as well.
Awesome. Steve, I think this one's for you, and I'm going to pull from a couple of the questions. First is, as an organization, does AutoTrader value more individual performance or team success? And then a part B to that would be, what are the core values at AutoTrader that makes the culture? I think you're on mute there, Steve. There we go.
Apologies. Depending on where you are, right? So most of our digital teams are exactly that. They're teams. They're non-hierarchical. They're end-to-end, cross-functional, everything you'd expect. And what those guys do is about team success. And, you know, those teams are generally responsible for their mission, and they work together to achieve that mission. Now, we also let the teams decide who's working well and who's not. It's generally a team orientation. In other roles, there are individual contributors, and then of course you value those guys. And I can think of different parts of, say, the IT organization that I run where that really matters. So I'd say both. We do identify individuals as well. We have a lot of heroes in our organization, which is something we want to fix actually. And this role, I think, will go a long way to helping with some of the heroics that happen. You know, people have to do that sometimes to get something across the line, and that's just because, you know, we might have poorly anticipated something, or maybe, you know, testing has let us down, and we've had something escape and we've got to fix it in a hurry. So in those cases, yeah, we do reward individuals where they step up. So I think both. We don't have really an opinion on one or the other. It's probably job dependent, role dependent, situational. As far as core values, they're going to sound cliche, right? But these are real. We spend a lot of time working on these, and we dial into them pretty regularly. And when we think about, say, individuals' performance, you know, we very much believe in, you know, the whole fit over skills kind of viewpoint. And to that, if we feel like a bad actor, we very much dial into fit and look at our values and whether they're exemplifying them or not. And they are integrity, authenticity, curiosity is a big one for us. And that's about challenging the status quo. You know, we have a lot of legacy. We've been around since the 70s, right? Although we're a modern digital business, there are some things that we've done that we've probably always done that way, but they should be challenged, and we want people to challenge them. We don't want to do things just because we've always done them that way. So that's what curiosity is about. Trust is a big one now. I think that we all trust each other to a real high performance standard. We give each other feedback in the moment, and it's not personal. Most of us do. I'm sure not all of us do, but most of us do. So that's a big one. Pursuit of excellence, that's pretty obvious. In collaboration, which, you know, you need trust, you need authenticity, and I think a certain amount of integrity for all of that as well. So they're our corporate values. We really do believe in. They're not really up on the walls because we don't really have any walls at the moment. I don't have them behind me, but we do talk about them, and that's how we assess performance as well against those values.
Awesome. Do you guys have time for 2 more questions before we wrap up? Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So Sumit, there was one that came in around RPA, if it's one of the technologies utilized, and is current automation testing framework AI based?
Right, good question. So RPA is something we're actually looking into right now to use for a pretty exciting project, an integration project with another acquisition that we want to make. So we don't have a lot of existing infrastructure, code, or solutions around that, but it's something that we're looking into. As far as the depth of our automation as it stands today, I mean, we have a lot of API automation. We have a lot of integration and component automation running in regression and smoke suites, you know, running pre-build and post-release. I haven't really leveraged AI automation just yet. I mean, that's a perfect example of something that we're keen on exploring. And we want someone like a true test leader to come in and introduce that to us to evaluate the different options out there, make sure we're making the right choice, and then make it happen with the you know, with the 20 automation engineers that we have on staff today.
Awesome. And this follows up to another one, which I think maybe both you can touch on, is you know, some of the comments here about, you know, AutoTrader. It's you know, encouraging to hear that it's very bleeding edge from a technology standpoint. And where did those ideas come from and direction come from?
Bottom up. So, you know, like I said, we have 20 SDETs on staff today. We have just a boatload of engineers, and they all have their own specialties: full stack, front end, back end, integration, data engineers, data scientists. And so we have a lot of investment in different technology areas that are embodied within the engineering teams that we have today. So at the stand today, a lot of these ideas are coming from the team. we've got a lot of things going on. I mean, we're a big business, and we're doing a lot of things, and so we don't get a chance to get to all of them. We consider all these good ideas, but we don't get a chance to actually put them all in play, or at least at the very least give them due attention. So that's another perfect example of a role that our test director will definitely be playing for us.
And the current structure of the QA team, is it vertically aligned with different project teams, or is it horizontal, set up like a QE test center of excellence for automation?
Yeah, so our teams, like Steve mentioned, are self-contained, mission-based teams, and so our testers are embedded within the engineering teams. They're working side by side with developers, our product people, our engineering leaders, and our service delivery leaders as well. They do have chapters of practice where they get together and they share their experiences on individual teams and make sure that they're employing generalized best practices across all teams. And certainly is really useful, not only to help kind of as one of the informal ways to build up skills, expertise within individuals, and for us to further invest in their professional development. But it also obviously helps the products that they work on as well. As far as what a future engineering structure looks like when it comes to test automation, again, keep on going back to it, right? This is really a great example of how there is a lot of ownership afforded to the test director, and a lot of autonomy to tell us what is the right way to go about it.
I was just going to say that that's what we do today, but we meant it when we said we want a leader to come in and build a strategy. If they have a better way, then yeah, that's what we're looking for. We talk about throwing the deck of cards up in the air and see where they land. We talk about that a lot, and we're open to that, right? So whatever the leader in this thinks is appropriate, we're willing to give it a try.
Awesome. And then just to wrap it up, I know this has all been very valuable information, but I'll kind of, Steve, first, like I'll ask you a question, and then you can bolt on your finishing. Is just the interview process, kind of what you envision for this role, how it's going to work, and then if you wanted to add any kind of closing comments to kind of wrap it up, and then I'll turn it over for you, Sumit, to provide your closing as well.
I could probably handball the interview process to you because you'll probably look after that for us. But look, we're pretty relaxed around it. I mean, it can vary. Sometimes I meet candidates first. Sometimes the team interviews them first. If it's a team-based role, that's what we generally do. We get the person to meet the team to see if they even like the look of the team and whether they even want to work here, right? We think that's really important to get the candidate excited or not. I think for this role, it's probably Sumit or I will. Probably Sumit will meet them first. I think that makes a lot of sense. If this is answering your question, and then then it'd be me, and because it's a critical role, any role at that level I want to meet. And again, I'm looking for fit. That's what I really care about, ideally. And Sumit's going to worry about skills, and then again, I think team would be important. I think that's always an important one, to meet the peers and VPs and directors, to get a feel for the individual, to get a feel for the culture, and what whether they can work together. Because after all, that's what I care about. When I'm meeting someone, I'm asking myself, can we work together? That's really what I'm saying. In any of the questions I'm asking, I'm just trying to work out, can we work together? That's really important. I'm going to make an assumption the skills are there. Again, Sumit will probably look deeper into that, but that's what I care about. Did that answer your question, Mike?
It did. Perfect. And then any closing to kind of wrap up to the people that are attending live and are going to watch kind of the recording afterwards? Yeah,
I think I might have touched on this, or maybe you got the vibe with what we said, but the reason we think now is the right time for this, and why we haven't done it before when we wanted to, is that our business is becoming more complex. Sumit touched on AutoSync, which is our software business. We have at least 4 software products in there that we sell independently of the marketplace. And where there's more acquisitions, which we hinted at, that we're working on there. And that's bringing with it, different technologies, It's one of the reasons why we're, multi-cloud. But we embrace that. We don't try and align everyone to be the same just for the sake of that. We're not doing that. But, we talked about RPA. That's something we're bringing on and embarking on to sort of help with some of these integrations. So I think now is a really good time for someone to come in, as I said, as that strategic leader, to have a bit of blue sky. What tools do they think is appropriate? What structure is right? What's going to get us not just to be in a great end state, right? But incrementally, how do we improve and learn from that towards an end state? I think it's an exciting time, particularly to be part of a brand like this in Canada, which is already leading and will continue to lead in this next era. It's going to be pretty exciting to see what happens with buying cars online. What's the mix going to look like? Who's going to win? We're the biggest by a long shot in terms of the marketplace. We work with OEMs, we work with dealers, we're enabling them. We're going to have a good crack at this, and there are no reference points for it. Carvana's not a reference point. Tesla's not really a reference point. They're different models. They own the cars. We might do that too. We don't know. But, we're cash rich. We've got a lot that we can do, and we're prepared to invest to win at this next era. And we think it's exciting.
Awesome. Sumit, closing comments.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'll just kind of echo what Steve said, right? I think now's the right time. We've been looking for this role we were looking for this role a while ago, a few years back, and in a lot of ways, I'm glad we actually paused the search back then and have rekindled it now, because now is a fantastic time to join Trader, right? Like Steve said, we're growing tremendously through acquisitions and through new product development, where we've envisioned the next state, the next sort of growth area for our company, and we're attacking it. We have a good strategy behind it. We're also, from an engineering maturity perspective, we've become even more mature in the last few years, and there's no shortage of appetite to grow even further. So I think there's a lot of runway. There's a lot of open space for someone to come in and kind of lead the testing portion of the next phase of our company.
Awesome. And now you get to see me to close it out. I want to thank Steve and Sumit for spending this time to share some information to potential candidates that are interested. And I hope people that attended this live are going to watch the recording after, got a lot of information about the role, and more importantly about Steve and Sumit, to assess if this is the right opportunity for you. And if you are interested in applying, reach out to myself or Brian, as we're going to be putting together some candidates for Steve and Sumit in the coming days. And if we didn't get to your questions live, we will kind of make sure that they're responded to in the comment section. And please, I mean, this live job description is new and exciting for us, but if you have any comments about the approach, the process, we would love to hear it. So please feel free to add that in the comment section. Thank you very much, Steve and Sumit. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. And we will see you guys soon.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See you guys.
Mike. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Cheers.